Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cooking G Free Deliciously. I'm Kimberly, and I'm so happy that you are joining me today in my kitchen. I've got a really yummy treat for you. Today I am using the s'mores dessert blend to make s'mores cookies, and these are just wonderful. If you have loved s'mores your entire life, that campfire treat, you are going to love these cookies that we're doing today. So I started a batch in the oven already, and those are cooling a little bit. In a second, I'm going to plate those up. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk a little bit with you about gluten-free cookies. And I'm not going to go through all the steps today because I think most people have made cookies in their kitchen before, and you're probably pretty familiar with making the cookie batter. So quickly, I'll just go through those steps, just kind of talking through them. In the digital recipe card that comes in the Wildtree bundle, you will get this digital recipe card, oops, upside down here, for s'mores cookies. I've talked about these before, and they're so cool. These recipe cards, they give you a grocery list, nutritional information. They come to your email inbox so you can print them off. I print them on both sides. And then this particular recipe is explained in 6 steps here. You've got your ingredients and your kitchen tools that you will need. So the digital recipe cards are really cool. So in step one, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Parchment paper is a must with this cookie recipe to keep them from sticking extremely. They are a gooey, sticky cookie, so they will stick to your pan if you don't use parchment paper. So in a mixing bowl, you're going to whisk together your flour, your cocoa, and your s'mores dessert blend. You're going to use 3 tablespoons of that. And it's got a little bit salty and just smoky, oh, all those good things of the taste of s'mores that Wild Tree has put together in a dessert blend. So it's really wonderful to elevate the flavor of these cookies. And then in a separate bowl, you're going to melt your milk chocolate by microwaving that at 15-second intervals, just until those start to melt a little bit. And then you're going to cream in your sugars. You're going to use brown sugar and a white granulated sugar and 1 stick of butter, which is a half a cup. I also wanted to mention that if you have a hard time finding milk chocolate, you could use like a milk chocolate bar, the same as you would for making campfire s'mores. You could use milk chocolate chips. You're going to need about a third of a cup, is going to be 2 ounces. Or you can get the baking chips of a milk chocolate. And I'm not sure how many chips that makes, but if you have a kitchen scale, you could quickly measure the 2 ounces on your kitchen scale. Next, you'll beat in your egg and vanilla to make your batter and just bring that all together. And then you're going to take your whisk together the flour, that s'mores blend, and the cocoa, and you're going to add that a little to a time to the wet ingredients. Mix them up until they're all mixed. And then with your mini marshmallows and your graham crackers, I've saved a little bit to the side, and I'll show you exactly why you're going to do that. I think these cookies are cool enough, so I'm going to slide the last few cookies here onto my cookie platter and get this out of the way. Oops. Leave it to me to make a mess in the kitchen. I always tease my dear hubby and say he's my sous chef, and he loves to eat, so he doesn't complain too much. So the next step, once you have your mini marshmallows and your graham crackers in your bowl, I use a 1/4 cup measure here and a small just silicone spatula. And I've measured this out. Now this recipe is going to make 10 cookies for you. And they're a large cookie, and I'll show you the size more in a minute. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the gluten-free flour. And I'm using the GF Jules gluten-free flour. You can find it on my website at gfreedeliciously.com. That flour is a wonderful all-purpose flour. It's one of my favorites for using in traditional recipes that I make into gluten-free recipes. And as you see, I'm just measuring this out and then scooping it onto the sheet here in little mounds. In using the gluten-free flour, it is more of a battery substance, I guess I would call it. You know, it's the digital recipe card says to grab out your measured amounts and kind of roll them into balls in your hand. And with the gluten-free flour, that did not work real well for me in my trials of making these cookies to make sure that they're gluten-free. Of course, if you're not needing to be gluten-free, you can use a traditional flour. You just would swap out the same amounts for that flour. I'm just trying to make sure that I get every little bit here. And this recipe, as it comes down, I'm finding that it's making about 11 cookies total for me rather than the 10 cookies that it says. And there's another blob. You also could use, and I did this the first time around and then decided in my second experiment of making these cookies that I liked using the 1/4 cup measure with the silicone spatula a little bit better. But you could also use a large cookie scoop or an ice cream scoop for measuring out the dough. And I'm just going to set that over to the side. And I wanted to show you, this is just a typical ice cream scoop that I was able to use. Now, once these are on the sheet pan or your cookie sheet, you could use either, we want to kind of ramp up the appearance of these cookies as they cook. So this is where I'm using the reserved graham crackers and going to use the reserved, I just stick the bigger chunks in here. Also to use the reserved marshmallows that I saved on these cookies. It makes them just really, really pretty. And this is one of the tricks if you've bought cookies at a bakery that they will do. Now, one of the other things that putting the marshmallows up on top and just sticking them around here, one of the other things that that does for you is as these bake in the oven, these marshmallows will get kind of toasty on top, just like s'mores from the campfire. I don't know if you were the kind of kid who liked burnt marshmallows or expertly roasted. I was more in the expertly roasted category, and that it took a lot of time and tried to have a lot of patience when I roasted my marshmallows and get those out of the way over there. So here our cookies are all ready to go, and I'm hoping that you're seeing those. And I'm just going to stick these into the oven. And set my timer. Now every oven is going to be just a tiny bit different. As I experimented with these, I came up with 13 minutes. Then when the timer times out at 13 minutes, I turn the cookie sheet around and I go another 2 minutes on those. And these cookies, you'll notice as they're baking, they kind of pluff all up and then they spread out. And so I've also got a little trick for afterwards to make them come together in a beautiful cookie that is definitely worthy of gift giving too. And I'll see if my dear hubby can just put his arm in here a second so that I can show you one of these. And that what I did, and my grandchildren, I don't know if they're watching. If they are, it's okay. But they're going to be getting some of these this next weekend. I just took a sheet of white cardstock and cut them in 4x4 pieces. I put a cookie on there, and then I was able to find these little cookie bags at my local craft store, and just used a little piece of ribbon and a silver twisty tie to put it together. And, you know, that's going to go along with their Christmas gifts and everything. I always love doing just fun little things for the grandchildren like that. And I think that it makes a perfect little gift for, I don't know, your service workers, the mailman or whoever, and that you might want to give a little, I said mailman, mail person, correct me, sorry. But anybody that you might want to give an extra little treat to. In the past, I've taken them even to the grocery store and given my checker once in a while, and that so that they have a little something special at Christmas time, just so that they know how much I appreciate what they're doing for me. We've got another 10 minutes here to go, and while those are cooking and that, I did want to just give you a little bit of history about s'mores cookies. I was a campfire girl when I was young, and I remember this from a camping trip, having these with our leaders around the campfire and telling stories on a starry night. And really, these cookies bring back a lot of memories for me that way. But also, you know, if you were a Girl Scout or even Boy Scouts, you probably remember these cookies. My family did a lot of camping with the National Campers and Hikers Association and a group of friends that we formed there. And I remember lots of bonfires and cookies and s'mores cookies. So they're really, they go back many, many years, and they're a wonderful treat for any time of year. But these cookies in 1927, they came out in this Girl Scout handbook called Tramping and Trailing with the Girl Scouts. That's when the recipe first appeared. It's not, no one's really sure who invented it, but that's when the recipe first appeared. There was a Girl Scout leader and who put the recipe together for that booklet. Her name was Loretta Scott Crew, and the recipe originally was called Some More, with the idea that you eat one and you probably want some more. So the original Girl Scouts recipe called for 16 grams, 8 bars of plain chocolate, any good plain brand broken in two, and 16 marshmallows. And to make it, it instructed to toast 2 marshmallows over the coals to a crisp, gooey state, and then put them inside that graham cracker and chocolate bar sandwich. The heat between the marshmallow, between the halves of the chocolate bar, melting the chocolate a bit, though it tastes like some more, one is really enough. And I got just such a kick out of that. Like many, many recipes that we've come to know and love today, you know, it's the name we call them by today being shortened to S with a hyphen, Moors. But various Girl Scout publications continued to refer to the campfire treat as some more until 1971. So no one's really quite sure how it got shortened. And that wasn't really that long ago. I can remember then. Maybe I'm dating myself. Anyway, the idea behind the time-honored tradition of making s'mores around the campfire became the inspiration for today's Girl Scout s'mores cookie also. And I thought that was just a really cool little bit of history about the cookie. And it's looking like I have about 6 minutes left. While I'm doing that, I'll get rid of my mixer here. And I don't want to keep you around too long because I know you're busy and have got a lot of holidaying to do. I do want to show you as those cookies bake, and that my cookies that I did a little early, and as you can see, they're slightly toasty on top. I do want to mention, and maybe I can pull just, this is going really, really quickly here. So maybe I can pull one off from here just to kind of explain what I've done with these cookies. As they come out of the oven, I've used a small silicone spatula and another spatula. They do, as I said, they will kind of melt out. So I pull them together, and then just pulling in the sides around the cookie to make it cookie shaped as the cookie comes together. And then you're going to want to let them set and cool for just a minute. Before we go today, I did want to talk a little bit more about the Wildtree products just briefly. This is, and the jar is about half gone, but in the home cooked holiday bundle by Wildtree, you'll get the cranberry poppy seed dressing. I've been using it on salads, lettuce with a little fruit and some feta cheese. It's wonderful. I also did a couple weeks ago our cranberry chicken salad, and that is the dressing that I used in that. So very, very good. We've also got the Herb de Provence blend. And as you recall, last week, I used that blend in making our pan-seared pork chops. There is the hearty spaghetti sauce blend. This is a super duper staple for your kitchen. So I know you'll love that. And then of course you've got the s'mores dessert blend. This particular bundle also comes with a recipe for a s'mores ganache tart, which is super yummy and would be perfect for the holidays. So for everybody who was watching the Facebook Live, I did want to go back and show you with the warm cookies how I'm doing this. So I'm just pulling those edges, kind of squishing them up a little bit together, packing them in some, just quickly. As these came out, you can see how beautifully toasty these marshmallows that I put on top, how they've ended up. So I just pulled those cookies apart, pushing the edges up together. Sometimes they can be a little bit stubborn here, but getting those so that they all are individual, nicely round shaped cookies. And then as those finish cooling, they'll stick together for you. So we've still got a little bit of time to go. I'm pretty much done telling you everything that I need to today. I'm going to have the cameraman come down to that plate of cookies just so that you can see everything, how beautiful these cookies look. There you go. I really hope that you're having a happy holiday season. I love you very much. Thanks for joining me today. Like my Facebook page, share it with your family and friends, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.